people who actually support you through cycles is important, and therefore the person that you get on your board, right, you have to do the research to make sure that that person is the person who's going to support you through the cycle.
One aspect of how do you pick an investor,
Right.
because it's
Right.
both ways, and I think
Yeah.
it's as important and to be cautious as a founder as to who are you going to for money.
I think so. And I think, by the way, look, I think an investor is going to be with you for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's the
Yeah.
first realization. I think that's number one. Number two realization is investors bring more than money.
They should.
They should. Great investors bring networks.
Yeah.
Great investors bring advice.
Right.
Great investors bring pattern recognition.
Right.
Third is your personal chemistry and trust with the person, not the firm, matters.
True.
Right? And therefore, I think you have to be thoughtful about putting together your cap table, because remember that it's going to be forever. Or not forever, but it's going to be there for a long, long time as you're building. So I would say, one, look for these three characteristics. What else do they bring? Actually do some research, talk to other founders. Understand what each firm brings, because they're quite different from each other.
Right.
And see whether if you're getting one investor, two investors, three investors, they're complementary to each other.
Correct.
Right? The other thing that you have to ask yourself is, I've sort of been in this business now for 8 years, right?
Right.
And there is always a downside. There's always, not the environment. Your business goes through tough times, independent of what you do, right? For every 8 quarters of great growth, you'll have 2 quarters that are terrible. It happens, right? Not because of intent, but because that's how life is. So you want to actually pick people who will support you through the down cycle.
True.
Right? So how will they support you? It's people who are sort of saying, look, we have been through cycles before.
Right.
Yes, it's a tough time. Yes, we need to correct, but we're with you and let's work constructively. So people who actually support you through cycles is important, and therefore the person that you get on your board, right, you have to do the research to make sure that that person is the person who's going to support you through the cycle.
Right.
And I think that's important, right? The last is the startup ecosystem does very few independent directors, and I think that's a miss. I've been on a publicly listed board for a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
That's true.
And I think there's value in having independent directors.
Yeah.
And I think getting independent directors early on in the cycle, maybe a year in, is important.
Yeah.
Because what that brings is different perspectives from an investor, who obviously, by the way, has great perspectives, but has some vested interest by definition, right?
Correct.
And have an independent director. And I think that starts to create something interesting.
But how different would that be from just like having a board of,
So I think having a board of directors is great, right? But if the board of directors is only your investors, I think it'll be fantastic, but it brings only a certain set of perspectives. If you basically go to any publicly traded company, by regulation, you need independent directors. You need women on the board. I think, there needs to be a lot more of that in private companies.
True.
And earlier on in the cycle, because I think then you build
those are
institutions.
constructs of long-term businesses.
That's
and
right.
vision.
That's
yeah,
right.
interesting.